The story opens with a man regaining consciousness in total darkness, completely disoriented and unsure of where he is. At first, there's nothing but blackness, until a dim glow slowly forms in front of him. As the light grows clearer, he realizes it's coming from the inside of a cracked shell. Peering through the small opening, he can see a forest outside, which only deepens his confusion, especially when he discovers that he can't move his body at all. Before he can process what's happening, a status screen suddenly appears. The moment he reads it, he's stunned to learn that his current form is listed as a dragon egg. Struggling to understand, the stat window fully activates, and a divine voice explains that the screen displays all of his abilities, along with numerical values for clarity. Furious and demanding answers, he tries to question the voice, but it calmly replies that no further explanation can be given while he's still at level 1. This response only makes him more irritated. In his frustration, he wiggles slightly, causing himself to tumble out of the tree he was resting in. He crashes onto the ground and rolls helplessly down a slope until he finally splashes into a river. Looking into the water, he catches his reflection and is horrified to see that he truly is nothing more than a dragon egg. Seeing how overwhelmed he is, the divine voice finally explains the situation in detail. Dragon eggs are classified as F-rank monsters, the weakest existence in this world. If his shell were to fully crack, he would die instantly, meaning even creating that tiny opening was extremely dangerous. While dragon eggs sit at the very bottom of the food chain, they do possess the potential to grow into terrifying dragons, if they survive long enough. Unfortunately, survival isn't easy. Dragon eggs are considered a prized delicacy by monsters, and since they lack limbs, their only method of movement is rolling. Still struggling to grasp his reality, he decides that staying in one place is far too risky and begins rolling away as fast as he can. This choice quickly backfires when he accidentally rolls off a small cliff. Having fallen so many times already, the system announces that his fall resistance has increased from level 1 to level 2. Even so, the impact still drains his HP, reminding him that he can't afford to be careless. Worn out and injured, he chooses to rest. When he wakes up, his health is fully restored, confirming that sleep completely replenishes his HP, one small comfort in this dangerous new world. After recovering, he continues rolling forward while wondering what will happen once he finally hatches. He questions whether he'll eventually become a massive dragon, forced to fight endlessly just to survive. Lost in thought, he suddenly stops when he notices a massive insect nearby. Sensing immediate danger, he hides behind a tree and uses his appraisal skill. The result reveals the creature's name, the Egg Eater. The moment the insect spots him, it charges forward with clear killing intent. He rolls away at full speed, but he knows he can't outrun it forever. Realizing he needs a way to turn the situation around, he continues fleeing as the monster chases him all the way to the edge of a cliff. Just as the creature lunges forward, trying to gulp him down in one bite, he reacts at the last possible second. Using every ounce of strength he has, he dodges and slams straight into it, managing to knock the monster off the cliff. The insect crashes down the slope below and dies instantly. Just like that, he wins the very first battle of his life. The system immediately announces his rewards: 12 experience points earned and a jump all the way to level 5. With that level up, all of his stats are fully maxed out. On top of that, he has now met the conditions for evolution, unlocking 2 possible paths, becoming either a baby dragon or a little dragon. Not knowing the difference, he waits as the system explains. The little dragon is described as a dwarf-type dragon. While small by dragon standards, it can still grow larger than a bear and is especially feared for its powerful fire breath. The baby dragon, on the other hand, isn't very strong in direct combat due to its small claws and weak fangs. However, it possesses enormous potential and can eventually evolve into many different dragon species. The downside is that baby dragons are extremely valuable and hunted relentlessly by both monsters and adventurers. At first, he chooses the little dragon since it clearly offers a safer path to survival. But right after making that decision, the divine voice embraces him and warns him not to limit his own future. It tells him that it has high expectations and that he should always aim higher. This leaves him feeling conflicted. he begins to wonder if he chose safety over ambition. Remembering how the system emphasized the baby dragon's limitless potential, he starts to suspect that the little dragon might have a much lower evolution ceiling, or possibly none at all beyond a certain point. Not wanting to live with regret, he changes his mind. Even if it's dangerous, he refuses to hold himself back out of fear. The system accepts his decision, and in the next instant, his body begins to transform. He evolves into a yellow baby dragon, just as requested. Along with the evolution, he gains numerous new skills, and all of his stats receive a massive boost compared to before. However, his HP and MP don't recover automatically, leaving him exhausted and in desperate need of rest. Almost immediately, his stomach lets out a loud growl. He realizes he needs food, and fast. Looking at the worm he defeated earlier, he's surprised to find that it actually looks appetizing now. Understanding that protein is essential for growth, his dragon instincts take over. Without hesitation, he devours the monster. After eating, he curls up and falls asleep. When he wakes the next morning, he feels refreshed and full of energy. Heading to the river, he studies his reflection and finally accepts the reality that he has been reincarnated into this world. What confuses him, though, is that he has no memories of his previous life at all. He doesn't know who he was, how he lived, or even whether he was male or female. Before he can dwell on it further, he turns around and spots several dark worms approaching. This time, instead of fleeing, he charges straight at them. Using his newly acquired skills, he wipes out the first group in record time. As he keeps fighting, more abilities unlock, making each battle faster and easier than the last. Once all the enemies are defeated, hunger strikes again. Not wanting to eat the dark worms, since they tasted terrible before, he notices some mushrooms nearby and decides to try them instead. That decision quickly backfires when he realizes they're poisonous. After suffering the consequences, he firmly swears never to eat random mushrooms again. Having learned his lesson, he ventures deeper into the forest in search of proper prey, determined to stop surviving on dark worms alone. After exploring for a while, he spots a gray wolf. Despite it being larger than him, he confidently uses his baby breath, followed by a dragon punch to bring it down. The flames scorch the wolf's fur, and when the smell hits his nose, he realizes it smells exactly like grilled meat. Curious, he cooks it a little more with his fire breath, and when he finally takes a bite, he's blown away by how good it tastes. Not long after, he encounters another gray wolf and defeats it with ease. This rapid progress boosts him all the way to level 20 out of 25, making it clear that he only needs 5 more levels before his next evolution. As he grills the second wolf, he slowly accepts that this way of life, hunting, fighting, and eating like a dragon, is becoming natural to him. Still, despite growing stronger, the loneliness starts to weigh on him. The divine voice is his only companion, and it's beginning to feel dull and isolating. Deep down, he wishes he had a friend. Surprisingly, that wish seems to come true almost immediately when he hears voices in the distance. He can't understand the language, but the sound alone brings relief. He recognizes them as humans. Quickly hiding behind a tree, he peeks out and sees a small group of adventurers approaching. For a moment, he considers revealing himself and trying to communicate, but then he remembers what he is, a dragon, and wonders if they would attack him on sight. Still, he convinces himself that since he's small, harmless-looking, and even a bit cute, they might not see him as a threat. He even imagines they could treat him like a pet. With that hopeful thought, he steps out from behind the tree and tries his best to appear friendly and non-threatening. Unfortunately, reality hits hard. The adventurers don't see him as cute at all. They see him as valuable prey. Without hesitation, their leader slashes him across the chest with a sword. Immediately after, the man casts a spell that numbs his entire body, leaving him unable to move. He desperately tries to escape, but his limbs refuse to respond. Lying helpless on the ground, he watches as the adventurers slowly approach, clearly preparing to finish him off. In that moment, he realizes how naive he was to believe that humans and dragons could ever be friends. After all the struggles, evolutions, and near-death experiences, it feels like everything is about to end in a pointless death. Just as the leader raises his weapon for the final strike, a female adventurer suddenly steps in and stops him. She argues that there's no reason to kill such a small, innocent-looking dragon. Confused and terrified, he wonders why he's still alive. Moments later, warmth spreads through his body. Looking up, he sees that the woman is healing him with magic. Using his appraisal skill, he learns her name is Maria. Even though her MP is nearly depleted, she still chooses to heal him. As she speaks, the system announces that he has gained the Greek language skill, which will allow him to understand human speech more clearly as it levels up. However, the peaceful moment is short-lived. Suddenly, screams echo from up ahead. Maria immediately recognizes the voices as her teammates and rushes forward without hesitation. He grabs her arm and desperately signals her to stop, warning her that whatever lies ahead is far too dangerous. But Maria pulls free and runs toward the danger anyway. Unable to abandon the person who saved his life, he forces himself to move and chases after her. When he reaches the scene, his fear intensifies. The enemy they're facing is a rock dragon, a C-rank monster. Even worse, it has 197 GP, meaning it would require an overwhelming amount of damage to defeat. Maria has already been injured, and when he calls out to her, the rock dragon turns its attention toward him instead. Staring at the massive creature now focused on him, he freezes in terror, his body refusing to move as he wonders if this is truly the end. That was episode 1. Subscribe so you don't miss the next part, and watch the next video to see what happens next. Drau narrowly avoids the strike at the last possible moment. As he leaps aside, a wave of regret hits him. Trusting that the 4 of them could defeat such a monster was a terrible misjudgment. Even as a child, he never imagined facing something this overwhelming. His gaze shifts to Miriam, and his heart sinks when he sees how little strength she has left. To make things worse, the small dragon slowly turns and begins moving toward her. Panicking, Drago rushes forward to protect her, but a commanding voice suddenly echoes, urging him to flee. It warns that staying is pointless and that the creature cannot be beaten. Drago knows the voice speaks the truth. There is no chance of winning. Still, even with that certainty, he cannot bring himself to leave her behind. Determined, he pushes himself beyond his limits. He rolls across the battlefield at incredible speed, narrowly avoiding every strike with the skill of a seasoned evader. In the chaos, he notices that the elderly man has already fallen. The remaining companion is barely alive, unconscious and bleeding heavily. Realizing there is no other option, Drau decides to lure the monster away. He charges forward, attacking and provoking it while dodging relentlessly. The dragon, small only in name, reacts exactly as he hoped. But the situation takes a sudden turn when the creature unleashes a powerful ability, triggering a violent tremor that pins him in place. Drau groans in frustration, fully aware now that the monster's power far exceeds his own. In a final burst of anger, he throws a flaming punch, but the dragon instantly heals, restoring itself with terrifying ease. At that moment, Drau understands the harsh truth. This fight is unwinnable. Accepting defeat, he grabs Miriam and escapes. He may not be able to save everyone, but he refuses to let her die. As he carries her away from the battlefield, he watches helplessly as her life force continues to drain. With no healing skills of his own, he remembers that Miriam is human, and that gives him hope. If he can reach a human settlement, she might survive. Following a faint familiar scent, he presses on, only to find himself surrounded by a pack of gray wolves. The beasts close in quickly, blocking any path of escape. With no choice left, Drago battles them head-on, forcing them back one by one. In the middle of the fight, Miriam briefly regains consciousness. Dazed, she sees the small Drago struggling desperately against the wolves before slipping back into darkness. Pushing himself to exhaustion, Drau continues forward, carrying her with what little strength he has left. By sheer luck, he finally reaches a village. He immediately cries out for help, pleading with the villagers to assist him, but all they hear are roars. Fear takes over, and one of them strikes him in the leg with a blade. As Drau tries desperately to make them understand, he realizes it's hopeless. Leaving Miriam behind, he entrusts her fate to the villagers and quickly disappears back into the forest. As he retreats, a painful realization settles in. No matter how hard he tries to approach humans, they will always see him as nothing more than a dragon. 2 days later, Miriam finally regains consciousness. Disoriented, she looks around until she notices a red-haired elf sitting nearby. Understanding that she is in a village, the elf introduces herself as Muriel and explains that she used an excessive amount of white magic to save her. Because of that, Miriam must now rest. Miriam anxiously asks who brought her there and what became of her companions. Muriel answers with a heavy tone. The dwarf is dead. His body was discovered crushed, as though an enormous rock had fallen on him. As for the others, no remains were found, and all signs suggest they were devoured. Hearing this, Miriam collapses in tears, overwhelmed by the realization that she alone survived. She blames herself, convinced that she could have prevented the tragedy. Muriel gently urges her to calm down, explaining that God always acts according to his own will. What truly matters is that Miriam is alive, saved by someone who risked everything for her. She then speaks of the dwarf, describing him as a good man who protected the village from monsters and served as a role model for the children. However, one night at the tavern, Muriel overheard people mocking him, saying he would never be able to defeat a stone dragon. Deeply offended, the dwarf decided to prove them wrong, recklessly charging toward his own death out of pride. In doing so, he dragged Gree and Miriam into the group, exploiting Muriel's absence and falsely claiming that he had her approval. Miriam admits that Muriel had warned them to stay away from the dragon, yet she still gave in, pressured by guilt and responsibility. She only agreed on the condition that they would retreat if things became dangerous. Sadly, that promise was never kept. Muriel concludes that the dwarf's pride led to his demise, then congratulates Miriam for surviving such devastating injuries. Suddenly excited, Miriam insists that someone must have carried her back to the village. Muriel dismisses the idea, explaining that they found traces of a monster attacking the village entrance, but Gregory's group managed to repel it. Miriam refuses to accept that explanation. She remembers losing consciousness during the battle and insists it would have been impossible for her to escape on her own. Muriel suggests that severe trauma can cause memory loss. Miriam reluctantly accepts this, but the image of Drau fighting the wolves lingers in her mind. She asks Muriel what kind of creature was seen near her. Strangely, the monster that had been by her side was no longer there. No one could explain why. It had simply vanished. Muriel asks if Miriam is worried about something, but she avoids answering. Even so, the question haunts her, especially as she wonders whether that creature could have been the same small dragon she encountered before. Elsewhere, Drau awakens as though nothing had happened. He silently thanks the natural resilience of dragon metabolism, along with the rest he managed to get. In his thoughts, he hopes the girl survived. Reflecting on the battle, he admits how utterly weak he was. He had believed that evolving once made him stronger, but that fight exposed the overwhelming gap between himself and a true dragon, even a so-called small one. That realization ignites a powerful desire within him. He must become stronger, much stronger. Deciding it is time to act, he changes locations and uses an egg eater to summon enemies, creating the perfect chance to gain experience. At that moment, the voice of God announces that he has received the title Path of Evil, which leaves him more irritated than proud. Drau swiftly defeats the egg eaters, reaches level 25, and once again meets the conditions to evolve. Searching for the best place to undergo the transformation, he heads toward a lake and agrees to review the evolution paths offered by God's voice. 5 options appear: Calamity, Marble Dragon, Angelic Child, Small Dragon, and Dragon Hatchling. The voice explains that the small dragon evolves quickly and is safer early on, but has limited long-term potential. The dragon hatchling, on the other hand, offers far greater growth in the future. Drau carefully considers the remaining paths. The child dragon is the safest and most natural evolution. The marble dragon specializes in defense and mana. The angelic dragon possesses healing abilities, but lacks offensive strength. The juvenile calamity marks the beginning of a dark path, one that can still be reversed. Though hesitant about becoming a calamity, Drau grows intrigued upon learning that such dragons are highly intelligent and capable of taking humanoid form, allowing them to blend in among humans. Still troubled by what this choice represents, he ends his contemplation undecided, quietly reflecting on which path he should ultimately choose.